growing up in Homestead, it really, at the time that it was really booming, it was the steel mill town, and a lot of steel was produced out of Homestead, and it was really impacting on World War II. But those were the times that obviously I didn't see, and I was very young as I was kind of growing up. But when you're growing up in Homestead at that time, I just remember people in Homestead would always say, greatness doesn't come from here. Just think about that for a minute. Greatness doesn't come from here. Better yet, they're telling you greatness doesn't live here. I'm sure at some point in your time you were told that you're not smart enough, that you're not good enough, that you're not talented enough. Heck, maybe you didn't come from the right neighborhood. But growing up, that those things started to become embedded in your mind. Now, I remember growing up and being part of programs, I would always hear the mayor of Homestead saying, at the end of this, just give a big thanks to Bill. Give a big thanks to Bill. So for years, I would hear, give a big thanks to Bill. Never met him, had no idea who it was. So here I was trying to navigate my way through life. So as I was leaving Homestead, I go to this powerhouse called Eastern Michigan University. I'm sure some of you know where that is, right? That's in Ypsilanti. Some of you all might be thinking, Ypsi what? Ypsilanti, it's spelled Y-P-S-I-L-A-N-T-I. So I go up to Ypsilanti. I'm going through school, I'm playing sparingly. I finally get the opportunity. So when I finally break out and I'm on the national scene, I receive a phone call from my mother. And my mother says, you need to come home. So Homestead is really going through these times, drug infested, gang infested. And all of a sudden, I remember I said, my mom picked up the phone and she said, Charlie, you need to come home. And I said, for what? And at that point, with the deepest swallow that I've ever heard in my life, she said, Charlie, you need to come home because your sister's been shot and killed. So I drive home, and I'm literally driving home. If I made this 5-hour drive, probably in about 2.5. I'm literally flying down the Ohio Turnpike. So I come across the bridge in Homestead. It's in Act 47. The city's going through depression. There's lights out. Come across, the steel mills are shut down. I go across this bridge. I go up the hill 3.5 blocks, and I make a left on a road that I'll never forget. And it's called East Laurel Way. So I get there, and I see yellow tape, so I knew something happened. And I finally get to a spot, and I see blood. So I know something's surreal. So as I finally get to the point of trying to figure out what happened, my sister literally, she was caught in crossfire between rival gangs. And the guy that she was with used her as a body shield. Dayelle was 17 years old. She never had an opportunity to live life. And at that point, I wanted to do something in my family that was never done, and that was to graduate college. And then at that time, trying to focus my attention and all my time and energy to hopefully be one of those, be drafted out of Eastern. Now, Eastern Michigan, you don't see many people being drafted out of Eastern Michigan. So I was the first person drafted in 13 years. So it was a big deal to Eastern Michigan. But for me, I wanted to create and hopefully do something to make an impact on my family. So I got drafted in 1998 at Alliance. After that season, I immediately wanted to start at a foundation, trying to make that impact and redirect some of our foundation goals back to Homestead. So the goal was just to try to tire kids out, and at that point, create programming. They want to go home and go to sleep. So we started doing programming there. So it was about 125 kids, 25 volunteers. So we started doing this tirelessly. And at that point, I now get ready to make the transition from Detroit to Pittsburgh. I'm excited because I'm a Steeler fan. I don't know if people in here are a Steeler fan, but I'm a huge Steeler fan, and I have an opportunity to play for the Rooney family. So I get home, sign, big deal. The mayor of Homestead at that point says, Charlie, you need to give Bill a call. I said, I don't know Bill. He said, trust me, if I had your phone number, I would have gave it to him at the point that he asked for it. I'm like, wow, okay. So I literally come, leaving Homestead, I go across this bridge, I'm looking at this phone number, and I'm like, I'm gonna call. So I literally call, and I'm hoping that when I call, the secretary takes the number, Bill never calls me back, and I can always say, I gave it a try. At this point, I call. Debbie answers the phone, his secretary. I said, this is Charlie Batch from Homestead. Didn't even have to get to Pittsburgh Steelers. 1 second. She gets on a heap. Next thing you know, she puts me on hold. Bill picks up the phone. He says, Charlie, how the hell are you? I'm like, I'm doing good. How are you? And at this point, he says, I know your story. I know what you're doing. I followed you over the last few years. You are making that impact. And I said, well, why do you say that? He said, because I know a leader when I see one. He said, it's not about the flow charts. It's not about the spreadsheets. He said, you are making impact on some people's lives. Whatever you want to do, you tell me. I can't physically be there. People in Homestead don't know who Bill Campbell is. But you see the name all over the place because his name is all over the city. His brother's name's all over the city. Everything has a Campbell name. Anything that is big in Homestead. But he said, you're that guy to lead the charge. You are here. You create the vision. We'll help make it happen. And at that point, that was 125 kids. We're now over 3,800 kids annually, 17 years later. Bill never wanted the credit. He's reading from afar. He wanted to serve as chairman of the foundation. He's following. We're having conversations as we continue to grow. And he's just like, wow, this is amazing, because not many people who have been successful have came back to Homestead and wanted to do something. And at this point, I'm just like, wow, I'm in awe. Because here I am, the myth of Bill Campbell is now taking me under his wing. And he said, you continue to do that. So in the meantime, in between, as we're continuing to grow programming, the Steelers make it to a Super Bowl. We're in Detroit, he's there. We go to the next thing, we're in Tampa Bay, we're playing the Arizona Cardinals for Super Bowl. We're celebrating, he's celebrating, and he's like, Charlie, show me that ring. I said, Bill, I kind of take offense to that, because I'm going to show you 2 rings. And he kind of just looked, and he was just like, that's my guy. That is my guy. So we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, I'm going through one of the trying times in my life. And I get to, and I call Bill during the season, right at the beginning of the season. I said, Bill, this is my 15th year. This is probably going to be my last. So he says, great. Tell me what you're going to do. I said, well, figure this out. Ben Roethlisberger this, Ben Roethlisberger that. I don't know. He gets hurt a lot. Maybe I play, maybe I don't. So all of a sudden in 2012, Ben Roethlisberger gets hurt. And we go up to play this team called the Cleveland Browns. Well, in Pittsburgh, you cannot lose to the Cleveland Browns. That is the biggest rivalry. Forget what Baltimore is. This is the biggest rivalry. So we're driving up, and we go up and play this game. I had the worst game of my life. I turned the ball over 3 times. I led the team to an 8-turnover performance. How do you turn the ball over in the National Football League 8 times? We figured out a way to do that, right? So we lose. We're driving back from Cleveland. I get home. So for 24 hours, my name is plastered all over the news. You can't do it anymore. Charlie sucks. He's old. He's 37 years old. This guy just is completely garbage. So on Wednesday, I'm driving into work, and I get this phone call, and it's from Bill. And Bill says, what's wrong with you? I said, what do you mean? I said, family's doing good. He's like, no. What's wrong with you? I said, what are you talking about? He said, that game that you played, he said, that's not the person who I saw. He said, what are you doing on Friday? I said, what do you mean, what am I doing on Friday? He said, because I know you're up for our high school Hall of Fame. I know you're up for that, and I wasn't coming in. Are you going to be there? I said, yes, I plan to be there. Then you be there and hung the phone up. And I'm like looking, and I'm like, okay, does that mean he's coming? I don't know. He never said he was coming. So all of a sudden, I get there. We show up. Bill's sitting right there. So I walk in. Bill gets to the point, he sees me coming in the door, he pulls me out to the side. And I'm like, wow, my wife kind of continues to walk in. Eileen's walking in, they're hugging, they're like, hey. And they see us over there just chirping, and Bill's just, da-da. And I'm like looking, and I said, what's up? He said, Charlie, it's not your ability. He said, it's your attitude. He said, right now you need to step up and be a pro. And I said, well, what do you mean be a pro? He said, that means accepting responsibility when you know things totally aren't your fault. Accepting responsibility when you know things totally aren't your fault. He said, because I know you only turned the football over 3 times, but you're getting blamed for 8. I said, you're right. And I said, that's tough to take. I said, because not only that, I got 20 million people saying that. He said, Charlie, you're from Homestead. We're tough. We don't give up. And you go out there and kick somebody's ass. And at that point, he hugs me. And he becomes emotional, and I become emotional. I'm just like, thanks, Bill. I said, this is 15 years. I know this is it. This may be my last start ever in the National Football League. And he said, Charlie, tell me some of the intangibles that are happening as you head into Baltimore this week. I said, well, we never beat Baltimore without Ben Roethlisberger in Baltimore. They've won 15 games in a row. They're 9-2. We're 6-5. We we don't have our starting center, we don't have our starting tackle, we don't have a lot of our starters. Well, so you tell me. He said, I don't care. I don't want to hear the excuses. You go out there and make it happen. And at that point, he let me go, and we walk out. And at that point, I'll show you the result. That happened 2 days after my conversation with Bill. And at that point, all he did was text me the next day. Told you. Told you. But it was important. It was important because that happened in December. That following spring, he comes back to Homestead, and he brings his whole crew. He stops by the office. And over the years, we always have a big fundraiser, and we raise money for our computer lab. And at this point, he says, he's walking through the building, and he looks back, and he says, Charlie, I like it, but I don't love it. And I look at Bill, and I say, what you mean you don't love it? Because I took pride in this. He said, I don't love it because you don't have enough apples. I said, well, Bill, if you decide that there just happens to be a knock on the door with some apples, trust me, I'll take them. At that point, a few minutes later, we get to March, and we always do Dr. Seuss Day, and I go out and read, and I'm dressed up as Cat in a Hat, and I go out and read the elementary schools. We do about 10 of them. So all of a sudden, I go from my elementary school, and I'm riding up to the next one, and there's an 18-wheeler sitting outside of our truck, and I look at my wife, and I say, I know you've been sleep shopping on Amazon a lot. This is quite a bit, right? She says, no, I have no idea what this is. So I literally go to the truck driver, and he says, Mr. Batch? I said, yes. He says, I was told to bring these by a guy by the name of Bill. They wouldn't tell me his last name. All I know is it's a guy by the name of Bill. He told me you were in the office pretty much every day. And he said, if I show up at 9, I guarantee you can leave probably about 9:45 because he'll answer the door. All of a sudden, I get there, we back up. He backs his 18-wheeler up on the road. We open it up because we really had no idea what this was. Bill delivers 40 desktop Macs. He delivers 30 laptops. He delivers 30 iPads to our foundation office. And I look at him, and I text him immediately, and I said, can you talk? And he said, I don't need to talk. Thank me later. Wow, like this is amazing. So now as we put these computers up and everything in our office, the kids are walking in, and they're like, wow, this is cool, man. We're in an Apple store. Yeah, it really does look like one. But those were the moments, and those were things that Bill always did. Over the course of the last over 15 years, we built playgrounds together, created programming for STEM education, created computer labs. He built a field in our Homestead area that put $5 to $6 million personally into this field because he wanted kids to continue to have some of the resources that many people don't have throughout the country. There's a myth throughout Homestead that, and we don't know if it's true or not, but he's put $30 million of his own money into Homestead. Having that opportunity to be with Bill, to talk to Bill, to really be able to be molded by Bill, and I truly looked at him as a father figure. This is a guy who has really blessed a lot of people. Didn't necessarily have to take me under his wing. But the one quote that I live by, and it reminds me of Bill every single day, it's a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And it says, do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path, and leave a trail. Bill Campbell did that. Bill Campbell created the legacy in Homestead. That was something that you'll always, always remember. And he said, Charlie, you continue to go out there and lead, and all I can do is represent him, continue to represent the kids that we serve throughout the country, because you never know who that person that you impact could be standing in front of you. I was that person that Bill impacted many years ago, and I have the opportunity to continue to return the favor and go out there and push kids beyond their expectations. I love the opportunity to do that. I'm here for you all because I truly believe in being able, if I can do anything to help you, I am here to do that. Those days are long gone. I'm 5 years away right now as I retired from the NFL. Playing 15 years is great, but the one thing that I always share with Bill is that the 80-plus year of the Pittsburgh Steelers, there's only one person that's born and raised in Pittsburgh, better yet Homestead, to play for the Steelers and have 2 Super Bowl rings. It's truly an honor to be out here with you all. If I can do anything for you, please do not hesitate to reach out. And it's truly an honor because I got a chance, because of Bill, to meet some fantastic people along the way. And you see a lot of these guys that are sitting here today. And I just want to thank you all for continuing to believe in me, continue to believe in our foundation, and continue to believe in Bill's mission is to continue to make an impact on kids' lives. Thank you.